Hey there, welcome to Takeaway with Sam Oches, a podcast from Nation's Restaurant News. I am Sam Oches, editor-in-chief at NRN, and this is the show where I give you an all-access pass to the restaurant industry's most influential decision-makers. This week, I'm sharing one more interview that I conducted recently at the National Restaurant Association show in Chicago, and that's with Del Taco Chief Marketing Officer Tim Hackbardt. Tim is a restaurant industry veteran who joined Del Taco as CMO in 2020, and he's overseen an initiative from the Southern California-based brand to emphasize Del Taco's differentiating factors as it seeks to capture guest attention in a crowded QSR Mexican category. Tim joined the podcast in Chicago to talk about those efforts, and he goes inside Del Taco's efforts to communicate in a rapidly fracturing media landscape, plus how the brand is setting itself apart with its value strategy. By the way, if you want more from NRN's coverage of the NRA show, head to nrn.com/NRA-show. That's nrn.com/NRA-show, where you can access plenty more stories, roundups, insights, and opinions coming out of the biggest restaurant event of the year. Jumping now into my interview with Del Taco Chief Marketing Officer Tim Hackbardt. Also, don't forget to stick around after the interview as I will share my 4 takeaways from this discussion, actionable insights that you can take with you on the go. Are you interested in making milkshakes or smoothies at the push of a button? With no measuring, scooping, or pouring required, For Real by Riches offers pre-made milkshakes that you'll be able to customize and serve in under a minute. Plus, the blender only takes up 9 inches of counter space and plugs into a standard 120-volt outlet. Could it get any easier? The answer is yes. Check out the For Real by Riches B7 blender today. All right, Tim Hackbardt, the Chief Marketing Officer for Del Taco.
You almost said mac and cheese officer, didn't you? That's what you were going to say.
Mac and cheese officer at Del Taco. That would be a really cool title.
It would be a super cool title. I got to work on that.
As your Chief Marketing Officer.
That's right. Not as cool.
Tim, thanks for taking some time. All right, so Tim, let's just talk about Del Taco. You guys have had a lot going on the last couple of years. We were just talking about this initiative you guys launched last year. Tell me a little bit about that, because you got some cool things going on with it.
Yeah, so we really put together a whole new brand promise for Del Taco, but really based on sort of the culture of Del Taco. It's called Del Taco Better Mex. And one of the things that's really unique about our culture at our company is that it's just sort of like this never-ending sort of internal entrepreneurial thing where everybody's trying to always figure out how can we be better, right? And also what's really cool about our culture is it truly is a culture where everybody's trying to help each other sort of elevate and kind of get to the next level, right? And that's kind of where it stemmed from. And then also we want to differentiate our brand. And we have a very large competitor in the fast food industry. And we really thought that some of the things that were just in the brand already really speak to better. We shred our cheese from 40-pound blocks of aged cheddar, fresh, right? There's no pre-bagged anti-caking agent cheese in our building, okay? We actually cook our beans from scratch, like on a pot on a burner every day, okay? We make guacamole we're slicing up avocados and mashing it up, right? We fresh grill our chicken and steak on a grill, just like you might get at Chipotle kind of a thing, right? So there's really cool, better stories in the food, but we wanted to just really explode that to the entire organization, whether it be a better experience, better restaurants that we're building, better things we're doing for our employees, our staff and our team members, so that's where it all comes from.
Yeah. Tell me about then the consumer side of this, consumer facing, because obviously in marketing, that's a big part of your job.
Right.
How do you communicate all of this to the customer?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that we've done most recently that really explains it best was what we did with fish tacos recently. We've had fish tacos for a long time. And the funny story around it was I was sitting in a meeting and we were talking about having another company make this fish for us. I saw in the ingredients list that we had Sam Adams beer in our fish. And we were not telling our customer about that really great quality ingredient. And we need to do that. And fortunately, I knew the president of Boston Beer and called him up, said, you okay with that? Kind of a collab kind of a thing. He's like, sounds great. And ultimately, this, during Lent, we came out and Better Beer makes better fish tacos. And we flew to the brewery and, we've got the brewer right in our ad. And that's what we're talking about. Better Fish makes better fish tacos because Sam Adams beer is in it. That's a really good example of kind of a collaboration type situation to really take some borrowed equity, from a partner and really elevate a product,
Sure.
And
So the digital revolution we've been all going through in the industry the last couple of years obviously has given you some new tools in your marketing tool belt too.
Right.
We think about loyalty programs, data collecting, communicating via digital channels. Tell me what Del Taco is up to in that space right now.
Quite a bit, actually. We'll be sending you something soon about some new things.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah, but quite a bit. So I would say one of the things that we're doing really well on is that we're really able to speak more to the guest. So we have 3 very well-defined channels inside of that. Beyond email, most people use email marketing. We're able to use email, push notifications, text messaging, all of that. So those things are all built out and working great. Some of the other things that we're able to do with this is do triggered research immediately. So if we're testing a product or we have a promotion out or a new product out, and you purchase that product and you're inside our loyalty program, you will receive a survey to fill out within a half hour so we can get real information. Yeah. That information is just rolling up automatically. We all have links and we can go in and look at it at any point in time and see what the consumer thinks about those things. Hey, are we portioning right? Like we can tell that or not. Yeah. We can learn a lot really, really fast. And that's one way we're really listening to the guests quite quickly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering what are the messages that resonate, because you talk about your competitor in the taco space, you're trying to capture the attention of, consumers by differentiating yourself, I'm sure, and so whereas your competitor is very value-oriented, what's the message for Del Taco that you feel like gets their attention?
I think it depends on who the guest is. Certainly, we find there's differences when you look at, those generations. Gen Z is very, very different, right? Millennials got their own thing going on, and then you got X and Boomers, and they're all different. And I think the biggest difference now is how they utilize media. Right, their selection of entertainment or media that they're using are so different, and there's certainly some crossover, but you definitely see, like Gen Z, you're not going to find them on television at all, kind of a thing, right? And you got to go down another road, and you got to be able to make content that is appropriate for that channel. So if we're going to be talking about, it could be a product, it could be anything, right? How you're going to create content for TikTok is completely different than the content you're going to make for a traditional television ad that's going to reach X and Boomers. Right. And so I think that's the biggest challenge for, chief marketing officers and marketing departments is you now have to make so much more content than you used to, and it all has to be different. It's not like you can replicate it, right? Yeah. So we're actually, building a small in-house team of content producers so that we can move real fast and certainly reach that younger audience with more appropriate content. And that content doesn't have to, it usually works better if it's not slick and shiny. Right? Yeah. Got to be more raw, Authentic, absolutely. Yeah, different game.
Tell me about, you talked about the Sam Adams example. That's another one you can tap into their brand equity. In the digital channels, we see a lot of work with influencers.
Sure.
Are you guys looking at how do you sort of ride some coattails, I guess, with influencers and others who have that platform?
Yeah. So we've been doing some partnerships with influencers. It's a little harder for a brand our size. Usually larger brands do a really good job of that because those influencers cost money now, right? So what we're trying to do is find influencers that are a little more niche, yet still have a great following. And then other sources such as we have a really good partnership right now with Food Beast. and they're doing some really great work for us, and in a different way, more authentic. How they present their particular content as well. We are looking at some influencers in 2024 that we're working some agreements out with, but can't talk about those yet. We're still kind of working them out. But we're finding our way to get there. But don't think the Kardashians are going to be on the list soon.
You know what? I think that's okay. Other brands can have.
Other brands can, yeah.
So we were talking earlier. You were talking about how much culinary is really under your purview.
Yeah.
So much of culinary at Del Taco is what does your marketing for you. Talk to me about the culinary aspect of Del Taco right now. Where's this brand heading with the menu in particular?
I think what you're going to see is we're famous for having a really strong barbell menu. Okay, so we have the biggest and best value menu of any QSR out there, 20 under 2. We changed that in 2020, late 2021, early 2022, from a classic dollar menu, expanded that out to $2. And that helped a number of different things. Obviously, commodity prices were going up, and you had to figure out how you're going to do price increases. That helped us, jump to that. But what it also helped us do is actually have a value menu that had products that were pretty cool. Yeah. So you can come to Del Taco and get a street taco with freshly grilled chicken, fresh cilantro and onions, and guacamole that we make fresh in the restaurant for under $2. That's a smoking hot deal and really good product, okay? It allowed us to look at sauces that were a little more expensive and give you really great flavor, okay? So it allowed us all of a sudden to have this really great breadth, so it just wasn't a bunch of cheap stuff, it was actually like, wow, these are really cool products and it cost me less than $2, So that's on one side of the menu. On the other side of the menu, you'll have things like the fish tacos at Sam Adams that we're doing, right? Better Fish makes better fish tacos. The other side of the menu will have our Epic Burritos. Our Epic Burrito is a fast, casual style and size burrito. Our fresh guacamole burrito, every single ingredient in that is completely fresh, right? It's got fresh guacamole, we make the rice, we make the beans, everything just like you get at a fast casual restaurant, that kind of quality, for about 25 to 30% less. And you can get it through the drive-thru and convenient, right? And you can do that. Recently, this past Thursday, from another premium standpoint, we released carnitas, shredded pork carnitas. Yeah. Okay, so a nice premium protein, and that's available in a couple of different ways. We've got a stuffed quesadilla taco that we do. We've got a sort of a kind of straight up bean and carnitas and green sauce. A lot of people don't have green sauce, which is really great, salsa verde. And then we have a really cool product, which is a very traditional torta, okay? And that's got a smear of beans on it, carnitas, some white sauce, our secret sauce, and then fresh guacamole on a big old torta bun. And then we have fries, we're famous for, crinkle cut fries. And we've got a loaded carnitas fries, which is really awesome, right? And that shows you how we'll play that out on a premium protein, kind of play. So that's another way, we do it. And it's such a cool brand because we can stand for all those things and very believable, and we get traction across the board.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, so Tim, last question for you.
Yeah.
What are you most excited about for Del Taco coming up? What are some initiatives or directions this brand is heading in the future that are getting you excited?
Yeah, so that goes back to this past Thursday. One of the things that we did that we've been working on for quite some time and finally found the right partnership for it is we've created our own foundation, a philanthropic foundation called Del for Better. And that's based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs to help people get better, elevate, right, to their full actualization. And we're focused on 4 primary different areas and helping fund organizations in these areas. One is housing, right, shelter. Another one is food, everybody's got to eat. Health, whether that be mental or physical health. And then finally, education, right? We all rise with more education, more knowledge, and how can we help those different areas? Our first partnership will be with the Gary Sinise Foundation, okay? And for those of you who don't know, Gary Sinise was in What's the movie? Help me. Forrest Gump. There you go. All right. Lieutenant Dan, right? And he went on from playing that part of that wounded soldier to actually creating this huge foundation that helps wounded soldiers today. All right, and so they'll be the recipient of funding from us. And it'll be with the RISE Foundation that creates adaptive homes for wounded soldiers. And the product that we'll have three products, and they're called Independence Poppers. Okay, that's the drinks. And there's a Sprite version, there's a lemonade version, and then we have a mini shake. And they use a blue raspberry syrup flavoring and strawberry boba, these little bobas. And when you see it, it's red, white, and blue. Okay, and that'll run over the top of Memorial Day and July 4th, and proceeds from all of those sales, we're going to donate to that organization to help those folks out. And that's the start of many that we'll do in the future, where we'll make kind of cool products, really fun products for folks to have, and we'll help other people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Tim Hackbardt, the Chief Marketing Officer of Del Taco, not the Chief Macaroni and Cheese Officer.
No, but I'm working towards that.
That's the next promotion.
Yeah, right? Macaroni, cheese, and bacon officer, maybe.
There you go. Well, Tim, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it.
All right.
Are you interested in making milkshakes or smoothies at the push of a button? With no measuring, scooping, or pouring required, For Real by Riches offers pre-made milkshakes that you'll be able to customize and serve in under a minute. Plus, the blender only takes up 9 inches of counter space and plugs into a standard 120-volt outlet. Could it get any easier? The answer is yes. Check out the For Real by Riches B7 blender today. That was my interview with Del Taco Chief Marketing Officer Tim Hackbardt. So what should you learn from this interview? Here are my 4 takeaways. My first takeaway is that your brand is full of great stories and you should talk about them. Tim talked about the fact that at Del Taco, there are all these stories about the better preparation of ingredients in Del Taco, the better restaurants, all the ways in which this company really sets itself apart from its competitors. And Tim talked about how it's important to communicate that internally so that you can improve the culture of your company. In a way, it's kind of rallying the troops, looking at your workforce, your employees, and saying, look, we're doing things better. Look at the stories of what we are accomplishing together. That helps to improve your culture. But of course, you should communicate this stuff to your guests too. You want to show your guests all of the great things happening at your brand so that you can encourage them to come to you instead of the competitors. One great story Tim told about how this is put forward at Del Taco is that their fish tacos leverage Sam Adams beer in the recipe. And Tim saw this and he thought, well, why not talk to Sam Adams, get Sam Adams in on the messaging, communicate the fact that they're a part of this recipe. And they did a whole campaign around this. And he used that phrase borrowed equity, which I thought was really interesting. In other words, they're borrowing that brand equity from Sam Adams, which is such a well-known craft beer company, and leveraging that to tell the story of Del Taco. What are the stories at your own restaurant? How can you find those stories, communicate those stories both to your team and to your guests so that you can emphasize how you are doing things better? My second takeaway is that guest feedback is easier to obtain than ever. Of course, digital tools like ordering apps, loyalty programs, even just the ways in which you communicate to guests through text and email, all of these things, you have a direct line to your guests, and in particular, your most loyal guests. Your loyal guests in particular are going to have a lot of opinions on your food, and you should tap into that. You should use your loyalty program or your other communication tools to find out from your guests, what do they think about new limited time offers? What do they think about this or that? You can get immediate results using technology in this way, which Tim was saying that Del Taco is doing. I think this is really smart because you do have to innovate constantly in the restaurant industry. And it's hard to know whether your innovation is resonating. But the fact of the matter is your guests can tell you, and they can tell you quickly, more quickly than ever. So why not leverage that? My third takeaway is that you need a content strategy for every type of guest. I think this is probably a challenge experienced by every restaurant company, and that is that if you have all demographics, all walks in your restaurant, if you have, boomers, Gen X, Gen Z, millennials, and even, kids, of course, each one of them is communicating in different ways. Boomers might still look to more traditional strategies like television and radio advertising. Millennials might be more into podcast. Gen Z might be more into TikTok, Instagram. All of these different platforms mean that the media landscape is just completely fractured, and the way in which you communicate on all these platforms to all these different types of customers, that can seem kind of overwhelming. Del Taco is building a content team. I thought that was interesting, as a way to really communicate quickly to every customer, be able to respond on all of these different platforms. Fact of the matter is, it's sort of a necessary evil. You have to be on all of these platforms if you have a wide diversity of customers, because the fact is all of these customers are going to all of these different channels and using them in different ways. If you're not there, you're not communicating to them. So figure out the ways you can build your own content strategy so that you're reaching each type of guest wherever they are consuming content. My fourth and final takeaway is that a barbell strategy could be a good entry into a value menu. Del Taco is kind of famous for this. They talk about this a lot, this idea of a barbell strategy, which is that they do have a value menu where you can order items for less than $2. But on the other side of the spectrum, they have some higher priced, higher quality items as well. Those are each side of this barbell. And it makes a lot of sense. Certainly Del Taco has thrived with this strategy. But I think it's important to emphasize to anybody listening who might be dipping their toes in the water of value, if you are looking at value as a way to drive traffic, which is obviously very important right now, you don't have to go whole hog on value, right? You don't have to discount everything, offer coupons, offer deals on everything. You might be able to do what Del Taco is doing and have a part of your menu committed to some value offerings. Maybe you've got smaller portioned items, or maybe you're strategically leveraging your SKUs in such a way that you can build new items that are cost effective, but you don't have to sacrifice those higher quality menu items to do that. You can have that other part of the menu too. And the fact is, if you have that wide diversity of customers we were talking about earlier, looking for different things, you can kind of be in a way sort of all things to all people by having that value menu. And that's something that's going to appeal to the value-driven customer, but also having that high-quality menu appealing to those who are really looking for something very flavorful and higher quality. Those are all my takeaways for today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please remember to subscribe to Takeaway wherever you listen to podcasts and leave your feedback. You can also email me at sam.oches@informa.com. Thanks again, and talk to you next week.